No matter how strange this door appeared, to Wang Lin, it was no different from any other. Just another third-step gate of the void. He stepped forward, and as he raised his right hand, the endless red snowflakes drifting through the starry sky trembled as one, rapidly shifting direction, heading straight for his hand. In an instant, Wang Lin's right hand glowed with an intense red light. His hand had transformed into a blood-red palm, its dazzling glow blinding, and an icy killing intent spread through the starry sky. Under the influence of this killing intent, the surrounding cultivators, startled and scattering, found themselves frozen in place, unable to flee. Killing origin. Wang Lin muttered to himself, his body swaying as he charged toward the enormous door that resembled a skull's mouth. In the blink of an eye, Wang Lin was upon it. Raising his right hand, the blood-red palm emitted a blinding light, and with a mighty strike, it slammed down on the gate. With a thunderous boom, a massive blood-red handprint appeared on the myriad void-bone gate. Within the palm print was the essence of Wang Lin's entire life of slaughter, mingled with Qing Shui's own killing intent. This slaughter had become an origin, a force unto itself. At the moment of impact, countless vengeful souls seemed to materialize, their anguished howls echoing as they attempted to burst from the blood-red handprint, but they could not escape. Instead, they turned, heading straight for the gate of void. The deafening sound of the collision shook the heavens and earth. The myriad voidbone gate was no ordinary gate. Despite the powerful strike and the furious howls of vengeful souls, it only trembled and cracked slightly, but it did not collapse. Not only did it not shatter, but a counterforce also erupted from it, surging directly toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin's eyes gleamed with cold light. The harder it was to open this door, the more intrigued he became. Laughing heartily, he took a few steps back, raised his right hand, and pointed at the sky, his gaze filled with determination. Thunder. With a resounding roar, thunder filled the heavens and earth, crashing toward the void gate. Fire. Flames surged, transforming into a tempest, burning through the bones of the world. Karma seal. Wang Lin's right hand formed a seal, his grip tightening. Life and death seal. His left hand raised, joining with his right in perfect harmony. Truth and falsehood Tao. Wang Lin closed his eyes for a moment before reopening them. A majestic aura enveloped him, the powerful presence of a great scholar merging with his early ethereal stage cultivation. With a surge of energy, Wang Lin stepped forward, his right hand gripping tightly as he launched another devastating strike at the sixth gate of void. 6 origins of the void, open the gate. Wang Lin shouted, and his entire body shot forward like a rainbow, closing in on the gate. In the blink of an eye, his right hand collided with the myriad void-bone gate. This punch carried the weight of Wang Lin's 2,000 years of cultivation. This punch was the culmination of his 6 origins of the void, a strike of his full power. This punch was a testament to his determination to resurrect Li Muan and grow stronger. This punch was his final move to break the gate and step into the third step of great power. The explosion rang out in an instant, shaking the heavens and earth, sweeping through the starry sky. The massive myriad void-bone gate trembled, cracks rapidly spreading, and in the blink of an eye, it shattered completely. This was the 6th gate. Having shattered 6 gates of void in succession, there was no force in this world that could stop Wang Lin from becoming a third-step great power. As the gate shattered, an enormous starry vortex appeared, and from within it came a tremendous force, like the weight of the ocean, surging toward Wang Lin. The power of the gate of void poured into his body. Under this immense force, Wang Lin's body reverberated with a series of loud thumps. His 6 origins of the void rapidly merged, and his aura surged upward, skyrocketing from the early ethereal stage to the mid-ethereal stage. Even more astonishing, as the power of the void gate fused with his body, it began to condense and refine, until a thunderous crack echoed in his mind. His body had broken through its limits, advancing from the peak of the 2nd step to the 3rd step of great power. This step was the step of a great power. With this step, Wang Lin had not just ascended in terms of aura, but had truly broken through the 2nd step and reached the 3rd step. From this moment on, Wang Lin was a great power. The thumping in his body, the endless thunder in his mind, and the pleasant sensation spreading through him felt like a rebirth. His body was undergoing an inner transformation, as if he was being sublimated from the inside out. The first step of cultivation, from refining qi to reaching the peak, is the process of a cultivator's body breaking free from the mortal realm until the threshold of nirvana is reached, marking the first rebirth. It allows them to absorb the world's primal energy. The third step, however, is the second rebirth, where the body expands endlessly, becoming one with the heavens and the earth, without separation, no distinction. This step was incredibly defiant of the heavens. He had melted away a cultivator's aptitude, removing any restrictions for those at the third step of great power. From then on, the only thing that mattered for them was enlightenment. As the six origins continued to merge, when the thunder origin and fire origin fused together, Wang Lin's cultivation level leapt from the early void nirvana stage to the mid-void nirvana stage. When the cause and effect origin fused in, his cultivation skyrocketed once again, reaching the late void nirvana stage. With the arrival of the life and death origin, and when the truth and falsehood origin fully merged, Wang Lin's cultivation broke through the peak of the void nirvana stage, becoming a great power at the early ethereal stage of the third step in the four realms of void. The cultivation energy rising stronger and stronger from Wang Lin's body turned into a pressure that spread in all directions. In that moment, all eyes were on him. The murderous intent in the eyes of the void god heavenly venerable could no longer be hidden. He let out a low roar, his body surging forward like a wild storm. Not long ago, with the gate of void still intact, he couldn't act. But now that the gate had collapsed, he had to kill Wang Lin. He had a feeling that if he failed to kill him today, it would never be possible again. Especially with the appearance of the myriad void bone gate, which sent a chill down the void god heavenly venerable's spine. At this moment, he was throwing everything into this battle. Even if his clone were to collapse, he no longer cared. The enmity with Wang Lin was a matter of life and death. If Wang Lin didn't die today, then the void god heavenly venerable would surely perish in the future. Now that he's merging the origins, it's the perfect time to kill him. Once he fully merges, with his cultivation, even the early profound void stage will not be a match for him. He must not be allowed to survive. The same thought echoed in the mind of the man in green robes. He had already retreated, but upon seeing the void god heavenly venerable's actions, he gritted his teeth. His eyes turned bloodshot, and endless coldness surrounded his body as he rushed toward Wang Lin. Also, Zhou Jin, despite being terrified to his core, was a third-step great power and the ancestor of the Fengtian wolf clan. His face showed determination, and with a low roar, he charged forward. Behind him, a bloodthirsty wolf several thousand feet long roared in pursuit. The actions of these three immediately caused Southern Cloud Master and the others to sway and disregard their injuries to stop them. But just as they were about to act, a soft voice, like a spring breeze, resonated in their ears. "It's fine." Though the voice was gentle, it carried an undeniable force, halting their steps. In their gaze, they saw Wang Lin, surrounded by the gate of void's collapsing vortex, absorbing its power. The void god heavenly venerable and the other two were rushing toward him from three different directions. Wang Lin, now fused with 5 origins, was using the power of the gate of void to merge the 6th origin, the slaughter origin. In the moment the three approached, Wang Lin raised his right hand and pointed at them. "Freeze." This finger, from a cultivator at the early ethereal stage, was unleashed as he absorbed the power of the gate of void and merged his origins. In an instant, the stars seemed to freeze in place. Time appeared to halt under the influence of this finger. With this finger, Wang Lin also unleashed the abandoned Tao thoughts from the 3 Tao fruits he had swallowed in the dream Tao. These thoughts were expelled in this very moment. Under this single finger, Zhou Jin's body trembled, and he couldn't move an inch. The man in green robes felt his body locked in place, as if countless Tao thoughts restrained him. Only the void god heavenly venerable's body could still move, but his speed suddenly slowed. At this moment, Wang Lin moved. Having spent his life in slaughter, there was nothing he feared more than a fight. As he took a step, he appeared before the man in green. The moment he opened and closed his eyes, Confusion flashed in the green-robed man's eyes. As his mind clouded and his body was locked in place, Wang Lin raised his right hand, forming a palm with 5 fingers, pressing down on the man's chest. With a squeeze, he completely grasped him. Karma seal. The green-robed man trembled violently and spat out blood, his body rolling backward. His cultivation was in the early profound void stage, but due to years of battle and the lingering injuries from before, he could only display the peak of the ethereal stage. Now, trapped by the immobilization art, he had no strength to resist. Within the karma seal, at the moment Wang Lin raised his hand, he grasped an illusory mist. No one could say what the mist was, but once it left the green-robed man's body, the man began to shake violently, his eyes bulging, his face twisted in agony. What was being extracted was the power of karma, the force of Tao thought. What was being drawn out was, unmistakably, the green-robed man's very origin. The mist in Wang Lin's hand transformed rapidly, turning into ice in just moments, trying to break free. However, Wang Lin calmly gripped it, never letting go. The karma seal was incredibly domineering. The origin, too, was part of karma. The cause, the cultivation, and ultimately the third step origin culminated in the effect. At this moment, Wang Lin, with his white hair billowing, wore a composed expression reminiscent of the Palm's sovereign from his past. The moment he made his move, it was the Tao itself. The man's entire body trembled, and his mind exploded with a deafening roar. Blood spurted from his mouth again as his body was sent flying backward by a flick of Wang Lin's wide sleeve. He was forced to retreat several thousand zhong before he came to a halt. His expression was dim, and his eyes were filled with overwhelming horror. What kind of divine ability is this? Get lost. Wang Lin's eyes closed. When he opened them again, his voice rang out with a calm command. The word wasn't shouted, but was instead spoken in the most serene tone. Yet, to the man in green, it sounded as though the heavens and earth were collapsing. His mind was shaken as if a force had surged into his body, attempting to tear his soul apart. In his panic, the man in green spat out blood and desperately retreated, as though his very soul was scattering. He fled with all his might. Although his origin hadn't been fully lost, the majority had been drawn out by Wang Lin's karma seal, leaving him utterly terrified. He had never heard of such an ability, but he instinctively recognized the power it held. It was similar to the moon fishing in the well technique of the Palm Sovereign, though this power felt even more destructive. His mind trembled as he retreated, filled with unwillingness. He thought to himself, if his cultivation was still at its peak, even with the karma seal, it wouldn't be so easy for the other party to extract his origin. I am an ethereal cultivator. I won't accept this. His heart raged, but his expression remained cold. Without turning back, he hurriedly fled. Though this may sound long, in reality, it all happened in the blink of an eye. After forcing the man in green back with a single seal, Wang Lin suddenly turned around and took a step toward the void god Heavenly Venerable, who had slowed slightly due to the body immobilization art and was now filled with killing intent. The matter of that year, it ends today. Wang Lin's eyes gleamed coldly, but his expression was calm as he walked toward the void god Heavenly Venerable. 10,000 radiance, void god path. The void god Heavenly Venerable roared, forming seals with both hands. He waved them forward, and instantly, a massive rift appeared behind him, roaring open. From within the rift surged countless worship souls. They poured out with fierce, distorted expressions, filling the starry sky. They unleashed a dazzling array of radiant light, and within that light, countless enormous statues appeared, spreading across all directions. Suppress him into the cycle of heaven and earth, and cast his soul into the starry abyss, where he will never escape even an inch. The void god Heavenly Venerable roared, pointing forward. At his command, the countless statues charged toward Wang Lin, crashing down upon him as though they meant to bury him in this starry realm. At the same time, beneath Wang Lin, a massive vortex appeared, created by divine powers. Countless vengeful souls emerged from it, howling in agony. Their twisted bodies reached out, trying to drag him into the vortex. Above Wang Lin, the vortex that remained after the collapse of the Gate of Void still lingered. From a distance, It looked like a shocking scene. Both above and below Wang Lin, there were vortexes, and between these two, tens of thousands of illusory statues radiated glaring rays. They aimed directly at Wang Lin, falling toward him with immense force. At this moment, it seemed as if Wang Lin's body was completely trapped in the Void God Heavenly Venerable's grand divine power. Die! The Void God Heavenly Venerable's expression twisted with malice. As he raised his right hand, purple mist began to form in his grasp, which soon morphed into a long spear. He gripped the spear tightly and hurled it toward the trapped Wang Lin. The man in green, still fleeing in the distance, stopped abruptly. His face revealed a struggle, but he quickly turned around, locking his gaze on the trapped Wang Lin. With a low growl, he abandoned his escape and took a step forward. Wang Lin's expression was serene. As the thousands of statues fell, he closed his eyes and began walking forward step by step. His pace was slow, but dozens of statues had already arrived in front of him. Just as those statues were about to crash down, it was unclear whether Wang Lin's body became ethereal or if the statues themselves were transparent. But miraculously, the statues passed through Wang Lin's body, as if he were non-existent. Thunderous crashes rang out as the statues fell, yet not a single one stopped Wang Lin. They all became transparent upon passing through his body, only to reappear behind him and crash down once again. The sight caused the Void God Heavenly Venerable's pupils to contract sharply. Though Wang Lin's steps appeared slow, in the blink of an eye, he was standing before the Void God Heavenly Venerable. Raising his right hand, he didn't bother with what divine ability the other party might cast. Without hesitation, he pressed forward into the void. Life and death seal. Wang Lin's left hand represented life, while his right hand represented death. As his right palm came down, black mist erupted, engulfing his hand. Though it struck the Void God Heavenly Venerable's expression changed drastically. He clearly felt that Wang Lin's palm contained an aura of death. As the palm fell, the entire starry sky within the 8 desolations seemed to lose all vitality in an instant, turning into a realm of death. In the moment it became a dead zone, countless cracks appeared in the starry sky surrounding the Void God Heavenly Venerable. They suddenly collapsed, curling backward and carrying an endless aura of death, heading straight for the Venerable. With a loud explosion, the Void God Heavenly Venerable's body was forced back by several dozen yards. He lifted his head to look, but just as he did, Wang Lin raised his right hand and pointed again at the Venerable. Freeze! The Void God Heavenly Venerable's body immediately slowed down. He growled and violently moved, trying to break free from the force of the immobilization spell and escape the suffocating situation. But how could Wang Lin give him the chance? While casting the immobilization spell, his body had already closed in on the Void God Heavenly Venerable. His right hand lifted and pointed at the Venerable's forehead. Thunder! As the words left his mouth, Wang Lin's right index finger seemed to transform into an indestructible heavenly thunder. This thunder fused all the thunderous power from both the inner and outer realms. One finger could kill a third-step great power. Even though the Void God Heavenly Venerable was one of the 5 ancient sovereigns, and his cultivation was supreme, at this moment, he was just a clone. His cultivation was only at the early stage of the profound void. Thus, this thunderous force could still harm him. When the finger struck, the Void God Heavenly Venerable's body trembled. Silver light flashed at his forehead, and tens of thousands of silver threads immediately spread out, quickly covering his entire body. The roar of thunder erupted, causing the Void God Heavenly Venerable to spit out blood, his body stumbling backward. Just as he retreated, Wang Lin stepped forward again. He pressed his thumb against the Venerable's forehead once more. Fire! With a deafening explosion, the Void God Heavenly Venerable's forehead, now covered in silver threads, suddenly burst into apocalyptic flames. The flames quickly enveloped his body, invading his mind and soul, burning violently. The pain of being burned both inside and out twisted the Void God Heavenly Venerable's expression, and he coughed up a large mouthful of blood. But it wasn't over yet. Wang Lin's eyes gleamed with murderous intent. He raised his right hand into a palm and slammed it onto the Venerable's forehead. As the palm landed, his fingers clenched tightly, pulling outward and turning the palm into a fist. Karma. A burst of primordial energy was immediately drawn out by Wang Lin. These successive strikes gave the void god Heavenly Venerable no chance to resist. With the immobilization spell in place, Wang Lin was like the heavenly Tao itself. Life and death. Wang Lin raised both hands. His left hand pressed on the Venerable's chest, and in that moment, the Venerable's aged body suddenly rejuvenated, appearing much younger. However, at the same time, when Wang Lin's right hand descended, that youthful vitality crumbled. Life and death clashed violently inside the void god Heavenly Venerable's body, as if his body were about to tear apart. Blood flowed from his 7 orifices, yet his body grew even more twisted. As one of the 5 ancient sovereigns, his dignity wouldn't allow him to submit. He roared as his body shook, breaking free from the immobilization spell. In that instant, his entire cultivation erupted. Still, Wang Lin's expression remained unchanged. The moment the Venerable broke free from the spell, Wang Lin's right index finger pointed forward. Freeze. No. The void god Heavenly Venerable trembled again, his eyes filled with despair. Truth and illusion. Wang Lin closed his eyes, making everything in the world false. When his eyes opened, everything became real. But as he closed his eyes again, Wang Lin's right hand raised, slashing downward. Slaughter. With a loud boom, Wang Lin's palm became like a blade, emitting a killing red light that fell from the Venerable's crown, cutting through. A deafening noise echoed. With a scream of agony, the void god Heavenly Venerable's body split into 2, transforming into 2 clouds of purple mist, rolling off in opposite directions. But even with his eyes closed, Wang Lin could clearly sense that within the mist, it was as though the mist itself was a garment, now torn apart, revealing the core of the void god Heavenly Venerable's clone. It was a formless energy, one that was ethereal and hard to detect by cultivators. Only Wang Lin, in this realm of truth and illusion, could sense it. This formless energy was the core of the Venerable's clone. In reality, this clone was merely a breath exhaled by the void god Heavenly Venerable's true form. The Venerable was known as the void god because his body had always been ethereal, existing for eons as a form of energy. At this moment, the mist that had split into a clone began to rapidly disperse, attempting to flee, invisible to all except Wang Lin. The void god Heavenly Venerable was not the most powerful among the 5 ancient sovereigns, but he was the hardest to kill. Wang Lin had not even opened his eyes. At the moment when the ethereal energy from the void god Heavenly Venerable's avatar retreated, and the young man in green was about to approach, Wang Lin witnessed the terrifying moment when the void god Heavenly Venerable was violently torn apart, turning to look back in shock. With his eyes still closed, Wang Lin raised his right hand and pointed at his forehead. At the tip of his finger, a golden light surged forth, and a drop of golden blood unmistakably emerged from his forehead, which he quickly grasped with his right hand. As soon as he held the blood, a bow materialized from within his body. The moment the bow appeared, a murderous aura immediately spread throughout the starry sky, and Wang Lin grabbed it with his hand. This was the Li Guang bow. Without that golden blood, Wang Lin could not use it again. This bow had fused with his blood ever since his immortal bloodline was forcibly unleashed all those years ago. The arrow it contained was also merged with the same blood. However, this blood belonged to Wang Lin. As long as he held it, he could call upon the Li Guang bow through a mysterious connection and unleash a devastating arrow. With the bow in his hand, and with Wang Lin's cultivation, he feared nothing, neither the heavens nor any cultivator. This bow was his strongest weapon at this moment. Eyes still closed, Wang Lin held the bow with his left hand, drew the string with his right, and pointed it at the fleeing void god Heavenly Venerable. He suddenly pulled the string taut. With a hum, the starry sky shook, as though on the verge of collapse, or perhaps it was already collapsing. The space around Wang Lin reverberated, layers breaking apart. The void god Heavenly Venerable let out a silent scream. A sense of death filled the air as he frantically fled, merging with the heavens and earth, and in the blink of an eye, he vanished beyond the vermilion bird star. The young man in green, equally horrified, hurried away, tearing open a rift and quickly slipping inside. Countless cultivators from the Kungsu star domain, who had scattered earlier, were unaware of the scene beyond the vermilion bird star. But at that instant, they all felt a soul-chilling sense of death. "This arrow, I will reclaim, Kungsu." Wang Lin's voice was calm, despite his closed eyes. As he drew the string, an arrow with a circular tip materialized from the void, instantly solidifying into a real arrow. As the arrow appeared, Wang Lin released his right hand. The moment his grip loosened, a deafening hum filled the air, shaking the starry sky. The bowstring snapped back with immense force, launching the arrow with indescribable power. The sky collapsed again under the force of the arrow, creating a series of endless black hole vortices that drew in all nearby forces, unleashing an overwhelming might of the heavens and earth. No one could stop this arrow. As the arrow shot forth, a wave spread across the sky. The young man in green, from a great distance, was violently forced out of hiding. He turned around in horror, only to see a massive ring of force bearing down on him. His face turned pale, eyes filled with despair. This time, it was not like the illusory world from years ago. This time, he had come in his true form. If he died here, it would mean true Tao dissipation. Before he could think further, the arrow was already upon him. He howled desperately, spraying blood from his mouth as he formed seals with his hands. He summoned the full force of his origin power, laying down his life force to resist. He even tore open the realm of devotional power, bringing out all the worship souls, merging them into his blood. Layers of ice began to form around him, freezing his body into a colossal ice block, comparable in size to a cultivation star. Just as the arrow struck, the vast ice shattered instantly. Inside the core, the young man in green's despair grew stronger. He slapped his forehead, causing his clan mark to shatter, unleashing more power to resist his impending doom. But in the end, with a thunderous roar that echoed throughout the Kungsu star domain, the arrow pierced through the ice, sweeping past. The ice collapsed, and the man's body shook violently as he spat out blood. His physical body shattered, and as his soul attempted to flee, it also trembled and perished. This marked the first death of an ethereal cultivator in this war. The Kungsu star domain was home to many outer realm cultivators, and at this moment, every single one of them felt the threat of death. The arrow shot in a straight line, sending ripples out from its tip in concentric circles, which spread across the entire Kungsu domain. Any cultivator touched by these ripples immediately collapsed, their bodies disintegrating into nothingness. In the eastern part of the Kungsu star domain, a group of several hundred outer realm cultivators, filled with sudden fear, chased after the few remaining cultivators from the inner realm who were desperately fleeing ahead. These inner realm cultivators, their faces pale, were on the brink of exhaustion, looking as though they were at the end of their strength. "Let's fight them. Even if we die, at least we die in our homeland." One middle-aged man, fleeing in desperation, grimly smiled and suddenly turned around, ready to self-destruct. But at that moment, a ripple from the starry sky swept through, passing through the bodies of these few people without causing harm. To their astonishment, however, they saw that all the outer realm cultivators chasing them had been struck by the ripple. Each of them screamed in agony and collapsed, dying instantly. In the southern part of the Kungsu star domain, two outer realm cultivators, already at the heavenly decay stage, suppressed their unease with malicious grins as they chased a young man ahead. This young man was pale, drenched in blood. However, in that instant, the ripple reverberated. The two sneering outer realm cultivators trembled violently and exploded in a thunderous crash, leaving the young man, stunned, standing in the midst of the chaos. In the western part of the Kungsu star domain, on a cultivation star that had already fallen, the various sects within had been nearly wiped out, taken over by the outer realm cultivators. Among them, some cultivators, mad with bloodlust, even slaughtered the mortal cities, laughing maniacally amid the screams. A few outer realm cultivators even captured the beautiful female cultivators from the various sects, intending to use them as cauldrons and sell them in the outer realm. But just then, the ripple passed through the cultivation star. After the ripple, all the outer realm cultivators on the star trembled violently and disintegrated into blood and flesh. In the northern part of the Kungsu star domain, thousands of outer realm cultivators transformed into long rainbows, rushing toward the edge to reinforce other star domains. But as these thousands of rainbows raced forward, they collided with a single ripple. As the ripple passed, the rainbows shattered, and no one survived. The same thing, the same scenes, occurred all across the Kungsu star domain. Under the sweeping effect of the ripple, the number of outer realm cultivators who perished was staggering. At the border between the Kungsu star domain and the Cloud Sea, the formless energy transformed by the void god Heavenly Venerable condensed again into a human figure amid the haze. His face was dark, his eyes filled with terror, as he rushed forward. With that arrow, who can kill him? Damn it, if not for this arrow, I would at most be injured, but I could still kill him. But why does he have that bow and arrow? Palm Sovereign, when you gave away that bow, you made a colossal mistake. With this bow and arrow, whether in the inner realm or outer realm, who can stand against it? I will not participate in this battle. If my avatar survives and merges back with my main body, I will leave. The void god Heavenly Venerable, filled with extreme fear, was fleeing, and as he approached the Cloud Sea rift, he had already made up his mind. Once he returned to the outer realm, he would never set foot in the inner realm again. Just at that moment, the void god Heavenly Venerable's face changed drastically. He suddenly turned around, and in the starry sky behind him, a thunderous explosion occurred. An arrow pierced through the starry sky with unimaginable speed, too fast to dodge, and without resistance. It swept past the void god Heavenly Venerable's body. With a tremendous crash, the void god Heavenly Venerable's body exploded, his aura disintegrating into nothingness. At the moment his avatar perished, a shrill scream echoed in the outer realm's ancient star domain, a place shrouded in boundless mist. The mist rapidly contracted and finally took the shape of a human figure. This figure was the true form of the void god Heavenly Venerable. He spat out a mouthful of blood, stumbling backwards several steps, before raising his head in deep apprehension, gazing toward the inner realm. In the Kungsu star domain, outside the Vermilion Bird Star, Wang Lin opened his eyes. The bow in his hand dissipated, and the arrow returned from the void, merging into the golden blood within his right hand. He raised his right hand and pressed the blood to his forehead, looking up directly at the still undissipated vortex in the sky. His third step was almost complete, just a final sliver away. Not far away, Zhou Jin was the only outer realm cultivator in the area who had survived the ripple. His body trembled, and he dared not move, watching as Wang Lin stepped into the vortex, where the power of the Void Gate was rapidly being absorbed. So powerful. He's become this strong. Zhou Jin's mind went blank, his face ashen. Not only him, but all the inner realm cultivators on Vermilion Bird Star were similarly stunned. The events they had just witnessed were beyond belief. Sealing Venerable. This is the Sealing Venerable, the hope of our battle in the inner realm. Southern Cloud Master's eyes were filled with excitement. Having cultivated for many years, he should have remained calm, but the scenes just now, whether it was the myriad Voidbone Gate or the power of that arrow, had left him shaken. Situ Nen laughed loudly, looking at Wang Lin in the vortex from a distance, his eyes filled with excitement. Sealing Sovereign's glory. It was unclear who shouted first, but soon after, thousands of cultivators began to cheer in excitement. Behind them, the statue of Wang Lin stood tall on Vermilion Bird Star, its eyes gazing up at the starry sky, exuding an overwhelming aura of grandeur, as if looking down upon the world as mere ants. However, only Wang Lin knew that his heavenly tribulation, the third step heavenly tribulation, was about to descend. At the moment of fusion, Wang Lin's cultivation soared from early ethereal stage to mid-ethereal stage in an instant. The moment he reached mid-ethereal stage, Wang Lin raised his right hand and pointed at the Void Gate vortex. In his hand, the Void Gate power gathered. With the thunder roaring, lightning danced from all directions, and a thunderbolt sword materialized in the palm of his hand. The sword was only 7 inches long, but it was a treasure of origin, forged from the unique Void Gate power unleashed after he shattered the Void Gate. This was his first Thunder Origin sword. Much like Qing Shui's slaughter sword from years ago, this small 7-inch sword was the manifestation of Wang Lin's first thunder origin condensed from his own power. In a sense, it was thunder origin. The second sword was the flame origin sword. As Wang Lin raised his right hand, and the Void Gate Vortex released a torrent of energy, the fiery sword emerged. The third sword was the Karma sword. This sword was a fusion of Wang Lin's lifelong understanding of karma, glowing softly in front of him. The fourth sword was the Life and Death sword. Its appearance shook the heavens and earth, black and white mists swirling around, finally condensing into this 7-inch short sword. The fifth sword was the Truth and Falsehood sword. However, the strange power within the Void Gate Vortex was limited, and after helping Wang Lin form the first 4 swords, signs of dissipating emerged. At the same time, a distant and muffled howling sounded from the ends of the starry sky. It was the aura of the heavenly tribulation. Wang Lin's eyes flashed. He knew that this time, after breaking open the Void Gate, the heavenly tribulation would be the most powerful one he'd ever faced in his life. But Wang Lin felt no fear. With calmness in his gaze, he took a step forward, his arms outstretched, and with a sudden tear, he forcefully ripped at the Void Gate Vortex that was beginning to dissipate. As he tore, the vortex trembled, and more Void Gate power poured out in a frenzy. Under the immense force of this Void Gate power, the Truth and Falsehood sword once again materialized. The sixth sword was the Slaughter sword. This sword was not a gift from Qing Shui, but one that Wang Lin himself forged. As this Slaughter sword formed, the Void Gate Vortex began its irreversible disappearance. The Void Gate power was extremely mysterious. Not only could it help cultivators merge with their origin powers, making their bodies as solid as foundation-building mortals, it could also forge magical artifacts. Wang Lin had no idea where this strange power came from or what exactly it was. But he knew one thing. This Void Gate power was an incredibly rare treasure, one that a cultivator would probably only experience once in their life. Once it disappeared, there might never be another chance for it to appear again. Moreover, this power had the faint ability to repair magical treasures, as evidenced by its ability to forge weapons directly from the origin. Looking up at the moment the vortex was about to fade, Wang Lin suddenly pointed at it with his right hand. Using the immense power of his mid-third step ethereal stage cultivation, he performed the body immobilization art. As he spoke a calm, low incantation, a single word escaped his lips. Freeze. At this stage, Wang Lin had fully comprehended the essence of the body immobilization art. It no longer only immobilized beings. With this art, everything, every movement in the world, could be frozen with a single word. The moment the word left his mouth, the vortex shook with an earth-shattering roar. The sound of this roar reached the ears of the surrounding cultivators, resembling a series of enraged howls. Since ancient times, every cultivator had held a sense of reverence for the Void Gate. Even the sealing sovereign of old had respected it. But Wang Lin was the only one in the world brave enough to use the body immobilization art on this Void Gate Vortex. Perhaps, before his understanding of the Dream Tao, Wang Lin wouldn't have dared to act in such a manner. But after his enlightenment, having gained the aura of a contemporary great scholar, Wang Lin had realized the grand principles of the heavens. He now viewed the world and all living beings as mere ants, not out of arrogance, but out of a sense of equality. Everything in existence or non-existence had no distinction. No longer in awe, he only had a calm, unwavering gaze. With a single word, he froze the heavens. The massive vortex came to a sudden halt, but even though the body immobilization art was powerful, it was not omnipotent. The vortex, though stilled, showed signs of collapse almost immediately. Wang Lin's gaze flickered, and he took a step forward. Moving towards the core of the vortex, he swung his right hand forcefully, unleashing a powerful, violent pull. From within the vortex, he began to draw out countless streams of Void Gate power, forces that should not have belonged to him and would never have spilled out otherwise. The roar from the vortex grew even more intense, resembling an enraged roar, as though the Void Gate was displeased with Wang Lin's actions. But Wang Lin paid it no mind. After drawing out even more of the Void Gate power, he raised his right hand and tore open a fissure in his storage space. He pulled out the glowing speck of light formed from the destroyed shooting god chariot. The god shooting chariot had collapsed during Wang Lin's first battle with Shui Daozi in the Cloud Sea many years ago. Even until its destruction, the final seal had not fully opened, yet it had still greatly shocked Shui Daozi, even injuring him. The chariot's incredible power was evident. Crafted by the mystic treasures of the Rain Immortal Realm, it was named the God Shooting Chariot, and its might was boundless. Wang Lin had once relied on it to overcome numerous crises. Today, under the strange power of the Gate of Void Vortex, Wang Lin took the glowing speck that had resulted from the God Shooting Chariot's collapse, intending to see if this peculiar gate of void power could indeed repair the treasure. If it could be repaired, Wang Lin had many treasures he wished to restore. In the instant Wang Lin extracted the glowing speck, the boundless gate of void power he had drawn surged inward, absorbed by the speck. Gradually, the speck emitted a bright glow. Wang Lin's eyes narrowed, and he couldn't hide his excitement. He hadn't expected his guess to be right. This strange gate of void power could truly repair treasures. Within just a few breaths, a massive amount of gate of void power was absorbed by the speck, which slowly began to form a cocoon, glowing softly, its light spreading around. At the same time, as the cocoon formed, it absorbed even more gate of void power. Eventually, with a cracking sound, as the last of the gate of void power Wang Lin had extracted was nearly exhausted, the cocoon cracked open, and a colorful butterfly flew out, fluttering its wings. Shimmering multicolored powder fell from its wings, and it danced around Wang Lin, its wings beating with endless joy and affection. Finally, the butterfly landed on Wang Lin's shoulder, motionless. Wang Lin laughed loudly, looking at the butterfly, and memories of his experiences with the God-shooting chariot flooded his mind. He never expected to see this butterfly again. This butterfly was the spirit of the God-shooting chariot. This gate of void power, no matter how difficult it is, I, Wang Lin, will take it. If the God-shooting chariot can be restored, then I have another item. If it can be repaired, I will have an ultimate life-saving divine technique. Wang Lin's excitement grew, and he waved his right hand. A fragment of a shield flew out from the storage crack. The fragment emitted a faint blue glow, so weak it seemed it could vanish at any moment. As soon as the fragment appeared, the remaining gate of void power Wang Lin had extracted immediately gathered around it, continuously repairing it. The faint blue glow of the fragment began to flash intensely, as if it were about to be filled with vibrant life. This object was called the Cyan Light Shield, a treasure Wang Lin had acquired in his early years. This shield had shown its strongest power in the land of demonic spirits. Whether it was Tian Yunzi or the ancient demons, all had been astounded by the divine power of the Cyan Light Shield. With Wang Lin's cultivation at the time, it was already incredibly powerful. Now, if it could be restored under this strange gate of void power, and fused with the third step gate of void power, its might would be earth-shattering. The strongest aspect of this shield was not its defense, but the divine ability contained within it, an ability called Dream of Returning to Antiquity. As the fragment of the Cyan Light Shield continued to absorb the strange gate of void power, it slowly began to warp and rapidly recovered its shield shape. However, by this time, the gate of void power was almost depleted. Seeing the gate of void power shrinking and the vortex about to completely dissipate, Wang Lin raised his right hand. With a grab, 6 Sword of Origin flew out, charging into the heart of the vortex and unleashing a thunderous clash. These were the artifacts formed from Wang Lin's origin. Each strike carried the full power of a third step great power. The vortex was violently disturbed by the thunderous sound. As Wang Lin opened his mouth and sucked in, using his soul-swallowing nature, he drew out a massive amount of foreign gate of void power once more. With this surge of gate of void power, the Cyan Light Shield absorbed enough to fully restore itself. Filled with excitement, Wang Lin waved his right hand again, and this time, the ancient God Bracer fragment was summoned. After absorbing the remaining gate of void power, the bracer was once again restored to its original state. Laughing, Wang Lin raised his right hand, clenched his fist, and struck at the heart of the vortex. With a deafening rumble, the vortex shattered. But just as it collapsed, An indescribable willpower spread from the wreckage. This willpower was so strong, it was earth-shattering. Once it appeared, no one could perceive it, except Wang Lin. When he sensed it, this will seem like the first spirit born at the dawn of the world, as if all the stars within the inner and outer realms had sprouted from this very will. If this were the past, Wang Lin would have been terrified and retreated. However, at this moment, he burst forth with the righteous aura of a great scholar, viewing heaven and earth as insignificant. How could he be defeated by this will? Today, I borrow the power of the Void Gate, and in the future, Wang will definitely repay this debt. Wang Lin's voice suddenly rose. Along with this righteous aura emanating from him, the heavenly reversal pearl within his spirit unexpectedly began to stir.